The film opens in a museum in Rome, where a priceless artifact, one of the three Cleopatra's eggs, is on display. The atmosphere buzzes with excitement as patrons admire the jewel-encrusted treasure. The camera cuts to John Hartley, an FBI profiler who's investigating the info of an upcoming theft of the egg on display at the museum, along with Interpol agent Urvashi Das. Hartley has been tracking Nolan Booth, a globally wanted art thief's every move. Hartley was alerted by the information given by the bishop and rushed to the scene, determined to apprehend the notorious thief and save the artifact. The museum's security claims it's impossible for the artifact to be stolen, but Hartley easily proves them wrong. The Cleopatra egg has already been taken by Booth. Hartley pours a can of soda on the supposed artifact and it starts melting down. Hartley claims Booth is still in the room with the real egg. Suddenly, chaos erupts. Nolan Booth escapes the scene with a mix of charm and cunningness. He swiftly bypasses security, deftly disarming alarms, showcasing his skills as an elite art thief. Amidst the commotion, Booth prepares for a daring escape. As he rushes toward the exit, Hartley arrives just in time, engaging in a tense standoff with him. "You think you can just walk away with that?" Hartley growls, ready to pounce. Booth smirks, "Watch me," and dashes toward the exit, igniting a thrilling chase through the museum. The high-energy sequence highlights both characters' wit and smartness as they navigate a maze of security and spectators. As Hartley pursues Booth, they leap over obstacles, exchanging sharp banter. Just when it seems Booth might get away, the scene climaxes with a surprise twist. Hartley points his gun at Booth and demands his surrender. Booth seems trapped, making no effort to flee. But suddenly, Inspector Daz arrives, startling Hartley and giving Booth a narrow escape. Booth leaps through a window and lands on a stall roof, cushioning his fall. Hartley follows but crashes through the stall because of his weight. The ultimate chase scene ensues. Booth grabs a moped, and Hartley? Luke Hobbs? Agent John Hartley, channeling his Fast and Furious persona, jumps into a Porsche Taycan Cross Turismo. The car, powered by its all-electric performance, roars into action. However, the chase comes to an abrupt end when Hartley's car is struck by a truck. The next scene opens to a beautiful sunset sky and reflecting sea, with a motorboat slowing toward an island. Booth arrives at his lavish villa and drinks water, but a mysterious figure looms in the dark, black shadows. Black Adam Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, none other than Hartley. Booth sighs and asks, "Isn't this out of your jurisdiction?" Hartley retorts, "That's why I brought locals." Shocked by the turn of events, Booth is left speechless as Inspector Das arrives, along with the SWAT. She informs Booth that he has escaped prison 6 times and will now be sent to the worst place on earth. With a smug look, Booth asks, "Your Instagram account?" Hartley, now taking the lead in the conversation, claims he has been studying Booth since 2014, when Booth stole the artwork "Lady with the Red Hat." Booth quickly interrupts, asking what evidence Hartley has. Hartley firmly looks at a frame on the wall, and it's revealed to be the same stolen artwork. Hartley goes on to say he knows Booth inside and out, explaining that Booth isn't stealing for money or fame, but for his father's validation. Shocked by Hartley's speech, Booth stands still but asks, "How did you find me?" Hartley coolly responds, "The same way I knew you'd be in the museum." Booth realizes it was Bishop. Booth, now handcuffed, is placed in the back of a van. As Hartley closes the door, he asks, "How does it feel to be checkmated by the world's #1 art thief?" Immediately, Booth responds, "I'm the #1. Hartley smirks, "Not anymore," and slams the door shut. Inspector Das, trusting Hartley, hands him the Cleopatra egg to transport, as it can't be kept near Booth. Hartley accepts the responsibility, but before the van drives away, a masked cop who assisted Hartley replaces the egg. The driver warns Hartley that the back door is open, but upon checking, Hartley finds no abnormalities. Hartley, in the belief that the egg is safe, lets the van leave. Under the van is the thief taking off the mask. And what do we see? It's our hottie Wonder Woman. Is she the bishop? The time cuts to 32 hours in the future. We are in Rome, and we see Hartley relaxing under the lights of a beautiful restaurant, sipping rum. Inspector Das comes for a visit with a bag. She asks if Hartley is going back, and Hartley shows his airplane ticket, indicating yes. Seeing the bag, Hartley innocently asks what's happening. Das takes out the Cleopatra egg and smashes it in front of Hartley. Hartley immediately thinks Booth gave them a fake egg. Das says she thought the same, but indicates that the egg was taken by Hartley, as she did a thorough investigation about him. She called the FBI security in charge, and they didn't find any name of Agent John Hartley. Inspector Das now firmly believes that Hartley is the egg thief and wishes to send him to hell. Hartley, on the other hand, insists that this is all a con play and that he is innocent and has done nothing wrong, trying to gain Das's trust again. He keeps on saying that this is a conspiracy against him either by Bishop or Booth. However, Das, stubborn as always, does not give a damn about his trust, and officers quickly handcuff Hartley. In the next scene, we see Hartley in the prison with some guards as he is being taken to his cell. Inside the cell, we see that there is Booth, the same Booth, yes, Deadpool, who Hartley himself pushed into prison and mocked heartlessly. Booth seems to understand the situation and mockingly asks, "Do you like the upper bed or the lower?" Agitated by the mocking, Hartley aggressively looks at Booth. Booth adds that if someone finds out Hartley is a cop, they are going to kill him. The scene changes to the dining hall of the prison. Booth, talking to Hartley, claims he knew Bishop would do this. Bishop wanted to snitch on Booth and gain Hartley's trust, only to backstab him later. Booth indicates this is a weird coincidence, but Hartley claims that it was Bishop's plan from the start. She wanted to eliminate both her competitor and the lead investigator at once, so she could work freely. They sit at a corner and start discussing the money they could get if someone gathered all 3 Cleopatra eggs and presented them to the Egyptian billionaire, who wants them before his daughter's wedding, as her name is also Cleopatra. Hartley quickly says that it's impossible, because 1 egg has been missing since it was first found. He asks Booth what his plan was to get the 3rd egg since it was never found in the first place. Booth replies that he would have scored 1 point against Bishop by getting the 1st egg and then secured the 2nd egg before the deadline. He would have thought about the 3rd later. Hartley then mentions that the 2nd egg is with an international arms dealer. Booth interrupts Hartley, saying, "I know Sotto Voce. It's easy to steal from him, because he organizes a party every weekend, and every guest wears masks as they don't want their identities to be discovered. The 2nd egg is in his vault. It's so easy to steal that it comes to him in his dreams and begs to be taken. Booth was just going to steal the 1st egg and then go for the 2nd, but then Hartley, the policeman, got in his way." Hartley immediately interrupts Booth, saying, "I see what you're trying to do. Stop it." Booth, acting clueless, claims he doesn't know anything and starts speaking loudly in Russian, shouting, "Nyet politsiya," which means "not a policeman," in Russian. He continues shouting that Hartley is no cop, but a profiler of the FBI Research Bureau, and tells the other prisoners that Hartley's friends have put many of them in jail. After stirring up the crowd, Booth quiets down and turns to Hartley, saying, "No one heard us." Just then, a man approaches, the ultimate gangster, Drago Grande. He mocks Hartley and punches him, and they are separated by the guards and taken back to their cells. Hartley, clearly furious, nearly attacks Booth. Moments later, the guards return, saying the captain wants to see them. When they arrive, the captain turns out to be a beautiful woman. Booth praises her, but Hartley immediately recognizes her. "She's the Bishop," Hartley says. Booth, mocking Hartley, says, "No dip." Bishop proposes a deal. If Booth helps her, he'll get 10%. Booth firmly refuses. Bishop then claims that Booth knows the location of the 3rd egg. Booth denies it, but Bishop plays a voice recording, and Booth is forced to admit he knows. Hartley, surprised, asks Booth, "When were you going to tell me?" "Never." After Booth refuses Bishop's offer again, she leaves. Hartley then suggests teaming up to catch Bishop and clear his name. He also adds that it will make Booth the greatest art thief ever. Booth, who despises the idea of teamwork, grumbles as he tries to say the word teamwork. Eventually, as they do some prison chores, Hartley mentions that the party is in 2 days and asks how they're going to break out. Booth doesn't respond. When night falls, Hartley asks again about the escape plan. Booth, with a smirk, says, "Sleep. It's the most important part of the plan." Hartley, puzzled, whispers, "I thought planning was the most important part of the plan." Slowly, their conversation shifts to talking about their past. Booth reveals that his father accused him of stealing his watch when he was just 8 years old and didn't speak to him for a year. One night, Booth noticed his father wearing the watch, which was lost in his work desk. but he never apologized and only asked Booth how his day was. This time, Booth refused to speak to him, and the distance between them grew. Eventually, Booth was sent to boarding school, which marked the beginning of his life as a thief. Hartley pretends to fall asleep. Shocked, Booth badmouths him, only for Hartley to burst out laughing. "I get it," Hartley says. "I understand." The night passes. In the morning, Hartley tells Booth that they have to escape today if they want to crash Sotto Voce's party. "What's the plan?" he asks. They're at the washing machines. Booth takes out a soap and asks, "What happens if you mix soap, which is pure glycerin, and cleaning solution, which has nitric acid?" Hartley answers, "Nitroglycerin, which is highly explosive." "Exactly," Booth says. He throws the mixture in the washing machine, and it explodes. Amid the chaos, Booth and Hartley make their move. They open the door with the keycard Booth stole during the first prison fight. They head to a wall they had secretly weakened over time and break it down with ease. They make it to the helicopter waiting outside, but the guards spot them and start shooting. Hartley grabs a gun from a soldier they had knocked out earlier and starts returning fire, while Booth rushes to the helicopter and starts it up. Hartley runs toward it but gets stuck on the bridge as a missile hits, separating him. With some struggle, Hartley makes it to the helicopter, which was clearly leaving without him. "Were you planning to leave me behind?" Hartley yells. Booth casually responds, "You said save yourself." Just then, a missile is launched. Hartley quickly opens the door of the helicopter, and the missile passes through, hitting the mountain behind them. They successfully escape. The scene shifts to London, where Bishop is seated in a room, speaking to a man tied to a chair. She talks about her mental issues. His eyes are filled with confusion and frustration. "Why are you telling me this? I'm an intelligence officer, not a psychiatrist." Bishop leans closer, her tone softening. "I need your help." She gestures towards the computer in front of him, typing in a series of codes. "I'm doing this to eliminate my competitors. It's a necessary evil." Bishop remains unfazed. Just then, the officer secretly presses a button under his table. As Bishop tries to leave, a security guard rushes in, and she swiftly knocks him out. With a sigh, she turns to the officer. "I thought you were different from the others. Just say you accidentally clicked the button. If you don't, I know everything about your family, your friends, and of course, your browser history." She unties him and exits the room, leaving him rattled. The scene cuts to an airport runway, where Booth and Hartley are waiting in front of a sleek private airplane. Booth's old friend approaches, having arranged their travel plans. As Booth enters the aircraft, he introduces Hartley. "Let me introduce you to Agent Hartley of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. His friends have sent many of yours to jail, and now Hartley will get special treatment." Inside, Hartley is dressed in shiny clothes, prompting Booth to mock him. "Nice outfit, Hartley." Hartley smirks, brushing off the comment. "Let's talk about the plan to steal the egg." Booth's expression shifts to serious. "There's very tight surveillance at Sotto Voce's estate. Every square inch is on lock. We're looking at two-man guard teams at every access point, rotating signals to stay sharp. Once they're on the move, you've got a tight 45 seconds until they land." Hartley absorbs the information. "What about their surveillance setup?" Booth explains. "The eyes and ears are in a secure room in the West Hall. 87 motion-sensitive 8K cameras cover the area, all with overlapping fields of vision. No natural blind spots. They're always watching and listening, kind of like Alexa, but with guns." Booth leans back, crossing his arms. The vault door to the egg room is a military-grade biometric portal made from 1.5 feet of solid titanium. You can't drill it, and forget about explosives. The only way through is with facial and voice recognition. And there's only one face and one voice that can open it. Sotto Voce. Hartley asks, "How do we get his voice and face?" Booth smirks. "A positive mental attitude helps. But we'll also need some killer deepfake technology." Hartley rolls his eyes. "Great. What else?" Booth continues. "There's a 12-digit passcode that changes every 6 minutes, shown on Sotto Voce's phone. And guess what? His phone is only accessible in his pants." Booth shrugs, adding, "We'll also need his thumbprint. The guy hasn't even upgraded his iPhone. But if we get the egg, we get the money." Hartley interrupts, his tone firm. "I only need Bishop." We see the beautiful city of Valencia. The scene shifts to a magnificent, luxurious car arriving at a lavish mansion where a crowd, all wearing masks, gathers at the entrance. It's Sotovoch's party. A mysterious bald man hands his invitation card to the guard. Who could he be? He moves inside and approaches a waiter dressed in white. Oh, it's Agent Hartley, with Booth right behind him. Booth, still grumbling about working together, calls it a terrible idea. Hartley, with a smirk, refers to it as a marriage of convenience. Hartley is tasked with getting Sotovoch's phone, while Booth is after his fingerprint. As they carry out their plan, Hartley spots Bishop standing in a corner, staring at a statue. He approaches, and Bishop, dripping with sarcasm, acts as if she doesn't recognize him because of his mask. They banter and begin to dance. During their conversation, Bishop asks if Booth has mentioned the third egg. Hartley smoothly denies it, saying, "Why would I tell you?" Bishop catches on and responds, "So, he doesn't trust you." The dance continues, but Sotovoch notices them and, with jealousy in his eyes, comes over. Interrupting their dance, Sato vocally stakes his claim. Hartley steps back, letting Voce take Bishop's hand. As he walks away, he bumps into Sato and apologizes. "What did you even accomplish?" Booth hisses. Hartley grins and shows the phone. "Already done," he replies. Booth's irritation melts into reluctant admiration. "All right then, next step." The two move through the party, deliberately bumping into each other, spilling Booth's drink on Hartley. Hartley feigns anger as the head butler hurries over, apologizing and offering to escort them to the restroom to clean up. Once Hartley goes inside, Booth discreetly hacks into the CCTV system using a device, hiding behind the door. It's their first real heist as a team, the ultimate beginning. They take their equipment and enter the room just in the nick of time, starting to set up in a rush. In their hurry, they stumble over each other, and the glass with the fingerprint sample smashes into pieces. Booth starts panicking while Hartley calmly continues setting up the equipment. They go through the entire process of opening the vault: code entry, facial scan, and voice recognition. Just when they're about to finish, Inspector Das walks in, interrupting them. She offers Hartley a deal: arrest Booth and prove he's still loyal to the police. But Hartley doesn't comply. Instead, they trick Das and rush inside the vault. But surprise! Bishop is already there, waiting. She casually suggests a less dangerous plan, yada yada. Cue an intense showdown. Deadpool, Black Adam, and Wonder Woman. Except the 3,000-year-old Amazon elderly woman crushes the guys in combat, of course. Next, we see Bishop holding the egg when Sotovoch bursts into the vault. Booth immediately starts blaming Bishop for the whole thing, saying they don't even have an egg, except Bishop has one. Voce, amused, praises her. With a devious smile, Bishop reveals her true plan: get the location of the third egg through Booth by any means necessary, including some light torture. We then see Wonder Woman, Bishop, tying up Booth and Hartley, showing her bondage skills, which is obviously Wonder Woman's weakness. Booth doesn't give in, so Bishop switches gears and starts torturing Hartley, knowing that the two have become best buds after all the life and death drama. Frustrated, Sato can't handle the injustice and starts strangling Hartley barehanded. In the end, Booth finally breaks and reveals the location. He claims it's still in Egypt, inside Cleopatra's coffin, hidden in the pyramids. Bishop, having some knowledge about the case, agrees it's plausible and bails on Sato, running off with the egg. Amid the chaos, Hartley manages to free himself. After Booth nearly let him die, Hartley declares he no longer trusts Booth and insists he doesn't need Booth's help to catch Bishop because he already knows the location of the third egg. Booth, desperate, admits it was all a lie. He never gave the real location, but insists he knows where it truly is and can lead Hartley there. Hartley begrudgingly agrees, and they both escape while Sato, waking up, grabs his automatic rifles and starts searching for them. The duo ends up under a bullfighting arena. To their surprise, the crowd roars as they emerge through a gate, finding themselves in the middle of a bullfight. Booth, panicked, tells Hartley not to move because bulls have poor eyesight and won't attack if they stay still. Naturally, that's wrong, and Hartley gets rammed by the bull, sending them scrambling out of the arena. Quick costume change, and they're off to the treasure hunt again. Next scene cuts to a train ride. Booth and Hartley are talking, and Hartley presses him about the third egg. Booth stays tight-lipped, frustrating Hartley. Enraged, he grabs Booth and dangles him outside the speeding train, warning him to spill. Just then, an oncoming train roars past. Booth, scared for his life but pretending to be unfazed, calmly tells Hartley he's too good a man to actually drop him. Hartley pulls Booth back inside at the last second. But Hartley brings up his own past, where his father was a crook who abandoned his family and never came back, which made Hartley choose to become a cop. Hartley shares that he needs Booth's help for it. Booth, emotionally shaken, finally caves and talks about the egg. In 1945, when the Red Army infiltrated Berlin and Hitler was about to be crushed, his art dealer, Rodolf Zeik, escaped with 100 tons of cargo labeled machinery parts. It turned out to be priceless artwork that the Nazis had looted from various countries, including Cleopatra's third egg, last seen in Zeik's possession. He then disappeared into history. My father, who was also a treasure hunter obsessed with tracking down the Hitler bunker, had an old watch of Zeik he treasured more than me. One day, I smashed it out of spite, only to find a hidden compartment with the coordinates of the bunker inside. Scene transition to Hartley and Booth hiking through Argentina's jungle near the location Booth described. They've been hiking for days, circling the same point. Frustrated, Hartley stops and they argue again, as usual. Booth, out of excuses, blames a faulty compass. Hartley grabs the compass and the map from Booth's hands, tears the map, and throws the compass to the ground. A metallic sound rings out. They realize they're standing right on top of the bunker. They open a concealed hatch and descend. Down in the bunker, the lights are still on. Booth sarcastically jokes, "Guess they're still paying the utility bills." Hartley figures out it's hydroelectric power, meaning there's a water source beneath. They find a vault door which has a keyhole. Booth instantly realizes it's shaped exactly like his father's watch. He takes it out, puts it in, and it opens the vault door. Booth, like a kid in a candy store, marvels at the artifacts, cars, statues, and finally, the Cleopatra egg. Just when Booth is about to hand it over, Bishop reappears, gun in hand. She's been tailing them for days. Then Agent Das barges in with her team. She's been tracking Bishop too. Gunfire erupts. Without a second thought, Hartley starts shooting back, confusing Booth. "Aren't they your team?" Booth yells. "They shot first," Hartley snaps. The three dash through a secret Nazi tunnel in a 1940s car, racing through a heart-pounding gun and car chase. Bullets flying, engines roaring, and explosions everywhere. Hartley's submachine gun runs dry. That's when the real struggle begins. Bishop driving, Booth defending the egg, Hartley punching the attackers. They work in sync, holding off the police. The chase ends abruptly as the road drops off into a waterfall. Their car plummets into the river below. Booth scrambles out but doesn't see Hartley. Thinking he didn't make it, Booth dives back in, only to find Hartley already on shore. "Were you looking for me?" Hartley teases. Bishop emerges from the water. Booth mocks her, saying Hartley will arrest her now and she'll spend the rest of her life in prison. Hartley pulls out handcuffs and Bishop sighs sadly. Booth's excited until Hartley moves closer and kisses Bishop. Booth suddenly flashes back to all the suspicious interactions, realizing he's been tricked. Both Hartley and Bishop were in on it together. Booth, baffled, asks about the torture. Bishop smirks. "It was to slip you the handcuff key." Hartley explains how chess has two bishops and two DC characters screwed over a famous Marvel one. Guess only in this end, DC beats Marvel, huh? Hartley, aka Male Bishop, handcuffs Booth, leaving him in the forest, saying, "You're a great thief, man. Keep it up." Next scene, we see the beautiful city of Cairo. Bishops have already taken the money and are celebrating the wedding. The egg is present at the grand ceremony. For the first time in history, 3 eggs are in a single place. The grand event is backed by some epic background music, and guess what? Ed Sheeran is there. The crowd is going wild. Not for the egg, but for Ed Sheeran, obviously. The princess? Yeah, she couldn't care less about the egg and just leaves it be. Gen Z kids? Priorities, right? Well, Ed Sheeran ends up stealing the thunder instead of the egg. Meanwhile, Inspector Das arrives at the scene. Yep, she's back. But, well, the bishops are literally playing her like a fiddle. Turns out, bishops had planned to double-cross the king all along and sneak away from the scene too. What a snitch. Next scene, we cut to bald Black Adam and hot Wonder Woman about to share a kiss, only to be interrupted by none other than our precious Deadpool. Booth drops the bombshell. The $300 million they scored from the king? Yeah, seized. Inspector Das is already on her way to capture them. Unfazed by the news, Hartley, aka our male bishop, kindly reminds Booth that he's this close to punching his face in if he doesn't leave. Male bishop, confused, asks what he wants. Booth lays it out casually. A new score, a three thieves job, big money. But male bishop, being firm, declines. Then Lady Bishop suggests that maybe Booth's offer isn't so bad after all. Das arrives with her team. But as usual, Booth and Bishops pull a disappearing act in nick of time. I told you, these villains are really running circles around Das. Final scene. Das, frustrated and raging, tags them both as threats and upgrades their profiles to red notice. Our scene transitions to the Louvre Museum in Paris, where Booth and the Bishops are planning their next epic heist, looking badass and ready to make history once more.